There is a moment, usually under 4 seconds long, where a woman decides whether to keep talking to you or politely end the conversation, and almost no one ever notices it happening. She will never tell you this is happening. Not because she's hiding something, but because most of it isn't conscious. It's instinct layered over years of quietly deciding who is safe and who isn't. So while you're wondering if she's interested, her body has often already answered the question, 5 times over, in small habits she probably doesn't even realize she's doing. Hello, and welcome back. Today I want to walk you through 5 of those habits, the small, almost invisible signals that researchers who study attraction and relationships keep coming back to. And the 5th one, the one most men completely miss, is honestly the most reliable tell of all. Here's where most men go wrong. They wait for a woman to say something obvious, a compliment, a direct question, an invitation. So they sit there reading texts twice, replaying conversations, looking for a sentence that confirms what they're already starting to suspect. But interest doesn't usually show up first in words. It shows up in behavior, in the small, repeated things a person does without thinking about them. If you only listen for what she says, you'll miss most of what she's actually telling you. Let's start with the first habit. 1. She mirrors you without realizing it. Watch what happens to her posture, her pace of speech, even the rhythm of her breathing when she's genuinely comfortable around someone. Psychologists call this behavioral mirroring, and it's been studied for decades. When 2 people feel a sense of rapport, their body language starts to sync up almost like a slow-motion echo. She leans in when you lean in. She picks up your pace of speaking. She laughs slightly before the joke even lands because she's anticipating you. Most men either miss this completely or mistake it for politeness. It isn't politeness. Mirroring is largely involuntary. You can't easily fake feeling at ease with someone you don't feel at ease with. When a woman's body starts moving in step with yours without her thinking about it, that's her nervous system quietly saying, I trust you enough to relax around you. I remember a friend telling me about a woman he'd been talking to for weeks, convinced she was just being friendly. It was only when someone else pointed out, she copies everything you do when you talk, that he realized what had been in front of him the entire time. 2. She remembers details she has no reason to remember. This one is easy to underestimate. If she brings up something you mentioned once, 3 weeks ago in passing, a sibling's name, a small worry you had about work, an offhand joke, that is not a coincidence. Attention is one of the most limited resources we have, and we don't spend it carelessly. We spend it on what we care about. Relationship researcher Dr. John Gottman has spent decades studying what builds closeness between people, and one consistent finding is that small moments of being truly noticed, what he calls turning toward someone instead of away, are some of the strongest predictors of emotional connection. When a woman holds on to details about your life that you'd have forgotten yourself, she isn't just being thoughtful. She's been quietly paying far more attention than she's letting on. 3. She gets slightly nervous in a way that doesn't match her usual self. This is the one that confuses men the most, because it looks like the opposite of interest. She fumbles a word. She laughs a half second too early. She suddenly seems less composed than she normally is. Here's the part most men don't understand. Comfort and ease are not the same as interest, sometimes they're almost opposites. 4. She protects the conversation from interruptions. Watch what she does when someone else joins the conversation, or her phone buzzes, or there's a natural opening to leave. Does she take it? Or does she find small ways to keep the conversation going a little longer, a follow-up question, a wait, before you go, or a reason to stay in the moment with you just a bit more? Time and attention are the 2 things nobody gets back. When a woman keeps choosing to spend hers on you, even when she has an easy, guilt-free exit available, that's not politeness either. People are very good at ending conversations they don't want to be in. If she keeps staying in one, it usually means some part of her doesn't want it to end. If any of this is starting to sound familiar, like you're recognizing someone specific while I describe this, go ahead and put the word recognize in the comments below. It helps you actually notice the pattern instead of just hearing about it, and it helps this channel reach more people who need to hear it too. Now here's the fifth habit, and it's the one I think matters more than the other four combined. 5. She brings up the future, even in small ways. Not grand declarations. Small, almost throwaway references, we should do that sometime, you'd probably love this place, next time you're around. It sounds like nothing. It is not nothing. There's a reason this one carries so much weight. Talking about a shared future requires picturing herself still in your life later, not just enjoying this conversation, but imagining more of them. People don't casually include someone in their mental picture of the future, unless some part of them has already decided that person belongs there. Psychologist Dr. Arthur Aaron, known for his research on closeness and attraction, has pointed out that a sense of self-expansion, feeling like your world gets bigger because of someone, is one of the clearest markers of genuine romantic interest. When she starts narrating a future that includes you in it, even casually, that expansion has already started happening in her mind. So here's the bigger picture once you put all 5 of these together. None of these habits on their own prove much. A single mirrored gesture or one remembered detail could be a coincidence. But habits, by definition, repeat. When you start noticing 2, 3, or 4 of these showing up consistently around the same person, the mirroring, the memory, the nervous energy, the protected time, the small references to later, that isn't a coincidence anymore. That's a pattern. And patterns are the closest thing to proof that human behavior gives us. She was never going to walk up and say it directly. Most people, men included, rarely do. Vulnerability is uncomfortable, and being wrong about it in front of someone is even more uncomfortable. So instead, the truth tends to leak out sideways, through habits she's not even tracking. Your job was never to wait for the sentence. It was to learn to read the signal underneath it. If this gave you something to think about, I'd love to know, which of these 5 did you recognize the moment I described it? Tell me in the comments, I read every one of them. And if this was useful, do me a favor and hit like, subscribe, and send this to a friend who's been overanalyzing texts, instead of just watching what's actually in front of him. One last thing before you go. Noticing these 5 habits is only half of the equation, because the moment she does feel that connection, most men accidentally do something that makes her pull back without ever knowing why. That's exactly what I break down in the next video, called 6 Signs She's Quietly Testing If You're Safe to Open Up To. If you don't catch those 6 signs, everything you just learned today won't matter, because you'll lose her trust before you ever get the chance to use it. I'll see you there.